First, let me thank all the media for coming here to join us this morning. This is an update of the work of Economic Strategy Review. They have worked over the last few months and have come up with several key recommendations. This is not all. I think more details will be shared over the next few months. I think the final report will come out middle of the year, and the government will do a full response then. During the budget debate and the Committee of Supply discussions, the government will also be responding to some of the measures, the recommendations, but not fully. I think the full response will be done towards the middle of the year when the full report is ready. Just to provide the context, and then I'll ask my two colleagues to speak. First, I think Singapore is now entering into a new phase of our economic journey. I think many things are changing globally, as you can see. Geopolitical tension, great power competition, as well as the rise of protectionism and nationalism, which has resulted in many manufacturing, many companies, many businesses in many industries rethinking their business model, reorganizing and reconfiguring their supply chains. And this has created a lot of uncertainty and volatility, as all of you would appreciate. Secondly, the advances in technologies like AI has also created challenges for companies to have to adapt to the new technology, to learn how to make use of this technology, but at the same time, there are also opportunities that are being created. So businesses will be done differently. Even work, the nature of work may change over time because of AI and productivity and innovation and automation. So I think these are the second challenges introduced through technology. The third area is in climate change. I think climate change will continue, and I think we are already feeling the impact of physical impact of climate change, and many companies are also being affected by climate events. Companies and businesses will also have to think about how to transition into a low carbon future. So this journey is going to be challenging, and companies have to take it seriously. Lastly, we are also seeing aging population, and all of us are very aware of this issue, and that also means that workforce growth will also slow down over time. So these are key challenges. Because of these key challenges, and that is one reason why we have to set up this economic strategy review. But what is even more important, and may not be so obvious to many people, is that going forward with these challenges as a context, I think growth will be a lot more difficult to achieve. I think in the earlier years when Singapore started our economic journey, we are starting from a lower base. Growth is easier to achieve. Now that we are relatively mature, growth is already hard to achieve. Plus the challenging external environment, I think it will become even more difficult. But at the same time, the second issue is that we can no longer assume that growth will automatically generate jobs. With automation, with AI, and with productivity, and as all of us hope to achieve, is to have higher value add industries, business activities. That means with higher value add per worker, you may not need as many workers. So I think job creation will be another challenge. So these twin challenges is what we are facing today. First, we need to continue to grow our economy under this very challenging global environment. Secondly, we need to make sure that our economy create new jobs, create good jobs, so that Singaporeans can continue to be gainfully employed, continue to see growth and prospects and opportunities in this new economic journey. So I think these two twin challenges is something that we are confronted with, and we need to be quite deliberate in our policies, in our strategies, economic strategy, to focus on these two twin objectives to make sure that both of them can be achieved. This is something that we have set up these 6 committees to look into. At the same time, we are also thinking about how we can continue to achieve our medium to long-term growth of between 2 to 3%. And hopefully we will, as I mentioned, it's going to be very challenging, but we'll work very hard to do that. And at the same time, with the recommendations of these committees, we hope to be able to push ourselves towards the higher end of the 2 to 3% over the next decade. So this is what we hope to be able to achieve. This is something that we will need to think about. But at the same time, let me also share that in order for us to achieve that, we will need to look at the several strategies that we will have to, the key thrust that we have to look at. The first is on building on our existing strength. One of the key strengths is we are a business hub. And we are not just an ordinary business hub, we are a business hub that's built on trust. And with this global volatility and uncertainty, many businesses are looking for places which will offer them certainty, predictability, consistency. So I think Singapore has demonstrated that despite these changes, we have been principled and our policies are clear and consistent, and our practices and our support for businesses are also consistent. So I think this is something that is a main competitive advantage for Singapore, and we combine this together with our hub status. I think this is going to be our strength. So the first strategy we are going, or thrust that we're going to focus on, is to deepen our strength in being a trusted global hub. We will be a hub for business transactions, a hub for people flow, hub for trade and shipping. We will also be a financial hub for many sectors of the industry. So I think this position is very important for us. We'll continue to strengthen our position. And this is also important for us to continue to expand our connectivity with countries around the world. And as we have been talking about the free trade agreements that we have been continuing to explore, and new forms of trade agreements to allow us to continue to strengthen this hub position. So that's the first part. The second part is on enterprise development. We do want to grow enterprises. Singapore has been a very attractive place to bring in global MNCs to invest in Singapore. And I just announced the groundbreaking of a major MNC a couple of days ago. And this shows that Singapore continues to be an attractive place for these MNCs to operate in. But this is important because these MNCs create a lot of jobs for us. I also mentioned that the investment will create, I announced a couple of days ago, will create 1,600 jobs over time. So these are important job creators. So we want to continue to anchor them here and to help them to grow in Singapore. At the same time, we also are now mindful that actually they are promising companies, emerging companies around the world, not quite MNC yet, but they have great potential to become MNC one day. So these are the companies you also want to go after, attract them to come to Singapore. If they're able to anchor themselves in Singapore and grow into MNCs over time, then we can grow together with them as an economy. And jobs will be created as they grow into an MNC status. So I think this is something that we'll be looking at over and above the traditional investment promotion with global MNCs. So at the same time, we are also looking at growing our own enterprises in Singapore. And we talk about Singapore Global Enterprises, SGEs, and we want to see how we can help them to go global. First, to get into a global market, regional market, as well as global market, sell their products and services regionally and globally. But at the same time, also to think about setting up their presence in these markets so that they too, over time, become MNCs, multinational. It's not just based in Singapore. They'll be anchored in Singapore, headquartered in Singapore. They will have operations around the world. Some of our companies are already doing that, whether they are in new energy projects, they are in logistics, they are in shipping, they are already operating internationally. They have bases all over. So we want to hope to be able to grow some of our local companies into this global MNCs in time to come. So that's on enterprise development. We also have not forgotten our SMEs. I think it's important for us to level up our SMEs, help them to achieve greater value add in their business so that they are competitive, resilient, and relevant in this new economy. And AI plays a very important part in this because we want to help our enterprises to be AI ready, to embrace AI, not just the SMEs, but our bigger companies, our leading companies, to help them to embrace AI, not just at a basic level using AI tools and so on, but to see how we can help them to leverage AI to transform their business to be even more competitive globally. So I think this is something that is going to be a major topic in our discussion on AI and AI-enabled economy and AI-empowered economy. So I think all these are part and parcel of our strategy in growing our enterprises locally, and we also need to explore new sectors of growth, which my colleagues will go into later on. The last part is a very important one, and that is on labor, on our workforce, on our human capital. And we need to continue to invest in our human capital. I think there's anxiety about this transition, this change. How is it going to affect our workforce? I think there will be an impact, whether it's AI, whether it's geopolitics, whether it's competition. I think it will cause our industry to change, our business, our economy to transform, to restructure. This is part and parcel of an economic development journey. But what is important is to make sure that in this journey, we don't leave out our workers. The way to help them to adapt to this new environment is through skills upgrading and education. And we will double down on our efforts in providing them, supporting them in their upgrading journey so that they will be AI ready, they will be job ready, and they will be future ready. So I think in a nutshell, let me just quickly summarize. I think it's going forward, it's going to be very challenging to achieve economic growth, not the same as we have done before, because the environment is very different today. It's a new world, it's a changed world, as I explained earlier on. At the same time, not only achieving economic growth is difficult, we can no longer assume that economic growth will generate jobs. And therefore, we need to pay particular attention in job creation and making sure also that the jobs created are good jobs for Singapore and Singaporeans. So I think these are the twin objectives they will be pushing ahead. And now I would like to just say a few words in Mandarin for the Chinese soundbite, and then I'll pass on to my colleagues. 今天新加坡正在朝向一个新的经济发展的一个旅程，在这段旅程当中呢，我们会面对许多新的挑战。第一个挑战就是国际局势的转变非常的迅速，也非常的信息万变，所以在这样的一个环境之下呢，我们将面对很大的挑战。我们要推动我们经济的增长，会遇到更大的阻力。另一方面，因为科技的发展迅速的发展，也会造成许多的行业会转变他们经营的方式，许多的工作也会改变他们的形式、他们的性质。所以在这些转变对经济来说都会有一定的影响。它们一方面会有挑战，另一方面也会为我们的经济提供新的机遇。那么第三方面，我们也知道。气候变化的这个课题是非常严峻的课题，我们的企业、我们的行业、各行各业都要为这个新的低碳的一个经济来做好准备。这个过程当中也会有许多的挑战。那么第四方面呢，我们也面对这个老龄化的社会的这个问题，我们的劳动力的增长也会放缓下来。那么这是经济发展所面对的挑战。第二方面呢，我们其实除了经济发展会遇到阻力我们也必须要了解说，在未来的经济发展当中呢，我们不能够把新的工作的产生当作是理所当然的。为什么呢？因为通过 AI 人工智能，通过自动化等等，我们有新的行业所需要的劳动力会减少，可能不需要那么多的劳动力就能够达到经济的增长。那么我们如何确保说，在我们的经济增长当中，仍然能够创造更好的就业机会给新加坡人，这个是非常重要的课题。所以这是一个双向的目标。一方面继续推动经济的增长，希望能够达到长期的2到3%之间的增长。那么希望呢，通过我们的努力，能够推到这2% 到3% 之间的顶端。那就能够达到很好的经济增长的这个景象。那么同时，除了经济增长之外，我们也要同时推动制造新的工作机会，让新加坡人有更多的机会。那么在这样的一个大前提之下呢，我们有3个重要的方向。 第一个方向是基于我们的诚信，因为新加坡一向来都以诚信为主，也以诚信出名，所以但很多的企业都喜欢到新加坡来投资，因为他们知道新加坡的政府、新加坡的人民都是有诚信的，所以这个是非常重要的。这对于我们的这个枢纽的这个地位也是非常重要的 business hub。如果我们能够加强新加坡的枢纽在国际的地位的话，我们就能够继续不断的吸引更好的企业来到新加坡，为我们制造更多的就业机会。那么第二方面，我们除了加强我们的枢纽的这个中心的这个地位，我们也希望能够提升我们的企业，一方面继续吸引外资来到新加坡投资，特别是庞大的跨国公司，因为他们会制造很多就业机会给新加坡人。同时，我们也希望能够吸引一些可能还没有成为跨国公司，但是非常有潜能的企业，也来到新加坡来投资。希望他们在新加坡也能够从新加坡发展成为一个跨国公司，那么我们也跟着他们一起增长，也能够制造新的就业机会。我们也不会忘记我们本地的中小型企业，我们也希望通过人工智能等等科技，帮助他们提升，能够过渡到新的这个经济局面，让他们也能够在这个新的环境当中继续蓬勃的发展。所以这几方面，我的同事都会再进一步的讲解。第三方面，我们也必须顾虑到工作和劳动力的问题，因为我们刚才提到说，我们需要继续不断的努力制造新的工作机会。那么同时，我们要预备我们的员工、我们的劳动力能够适应这样的一个新的环境。比如说，在人工智能方面，我们希望能够提升他们对人工智能的熟悉，他们不必惧怕人工智能，能够操纵这个人工智能，能够使用人工智能来提升他们自己的生产力，这个是非常重要的。在这个过渡期间呢，我们会继续不断的投资在我们的员工的提升跟培训，我们也会通过劳资政三方的合作，为他们提供更多的培训，更多的资讯，也能够帮助他们能够继续不断的提升，在这个新的经济环境当中能够继续进步，继续能够发展。这样的话，我们就能够达到我们的这个经济发展的目的。那么总结的来说，我们这个经济前景有2个非常重要的目标。第一，我们必须继续推动经济的发展，希望在长期的2到3%之间的增长保留在这个范围之内，那么推动到这个范围的顶尖靠近3%，那个对我们的经济发展的前景就会更好。那么同时，我们也必须要继续不断的注重在工作岗位的产生。那么希望我们能够为新加坡员工制造更多的就业机会，让他们的生活能够继续不断的改进，这是我们的最重要的双向的目标。那么接着下来，我想请Acting Minister Jeffrey Siow 跟我们讲解一下特别是在经济发展的整个这个大题目当中有些什么看法，有些什么建议。
You deserve some water, DPM.
Thank you.
Okay. Hi. Good morning, everybody. DPM has set out the context for why we did the economic strategies review. So what David and I are going to do now is to go into the detailed recommendations of the subcommittees of the ESR. I will cover the recommendations that pertain to growth. David will cover those that relate to jobs. But the first thing I want to say is that these should not be taken in isolation. As DPM says, there's in fact a very strong nexus between our growth strategy and our job strategy. When we think about economic growth, the outcome is that we want to create good jobs for Singaporeans. The second thing I want to say is that this is a whole of society effort. It is not a top-down initiative from the government. In fact, we have been consulting across the board many stakeholders. For example, my committee on global competitiveness has participation from a wide range of business leaders, including a new generation of Singapore business leaders who are on the front line, making decisions on how to grow and where to invest. And their inputs are very instrumental in shaping the recommendations of the ESR. The third thing I want to say is that we are starting from a position of strength, that we have a strong, diversified economy, we have resources, and in particular, much more better educated, better skilled Singaporeans. And some of the characteristics that the Singapore economy is well known for, trustedness, connectivity, are in fact even more important in this changed economy. And so we should be confident that in change lies opportunity. So with this as the backdrop, I will talk about the 4 key moves in our ESR recommendations that underpin our growth strategy. The first key move is to extend our lead and establish global leadership in growth sectors. And these growth sectors are in advanced manufacturing and modern services. Singaporeans are familiar with them because they comprise a large part of our current economy. They provide good jobs and they continue to grow. Some of these sectors include semiconductors, specialty chemicals, biotech, finance. Many global MNCs are in these sectors here already, doing good things, continuing to build value for economy, and we want to work with them to deepen their investments here, to do more of interesting things here, and in some instances even take more risks. A few days ago, we had groundbreaking of Micron's $30 billion facility. It will help us continue to maintain our edge in the semiconductor industry. As you know, Singapore is already one of the largest semiconductor producers in the world. We produce 1 in 10 of the semiconductors worldwide. And so these are examples of the things we want to do to deepen our investments and collaborations with companies that are here. The second key move that we want to make is to push out our growth boundary. And there are a few ideas. One is we want to boldly pursue new technologies such as quantum computing, decarbonization technologies, space technologies, amongst others. Now, it may surprise you that the space is one of them, but actually we do have a nascent space industry here. There are 70 companies already in Singapore employing 2,000 professionals doing very interesting work here. And Minister Tan See Leng will make an interesting announcement later on this week at the Air Show. But these are examples of industries where we may not have the right to win yet, but we want to win the right to play. The second group of ideas is around nurturing the next generation of global leading businesses. As DPM said, there are a group of fast-growing companies, not quite MNCs, but fast-growing companies, some of them in these new sectors I talked about, some of them disrupting existing sectors. And they tend to be technology and innovation driven, and they are looking for stable places to grow with good governance, with copious amounts of human capital, as well as human capital and financial capital. And Singapore for them ticks a lot of these boxes. And what we want to do is really to actively try to work with them, persuade them to come to Singapore, land here, and then continue to grow and operate out of Singapore. The third cluster of ideas is around strengthening our startup ecosystem and entrepreneurship. Singapore has already one of the best startup ecosystems in the world, but I think we can do more. We can do more to help our startups scale, especially regionally and globally. We can also try to support our founders to facilitate better exits for them at the correct valuation, so that then they can recycle their capital and reinvest them in new companies and new ideas. So if we are able to do these 2 key moves right, first, to double down on our strengths, second, to push out our growth boundaries, then the outcome should be that Singapore will move from a landing pad for foreign investment to a launch pad for global companies. And that's our objective. The third key move is about building artificial intelligence capability. AI is going to be a fundamental transformational force, not just for the economy, but even for society. And our ambition is when someone thinks about AI leadership in the world, they think about Singapore. We want Singapore to be one of the AI leaders in the world. We already have a strong base. In fact, we have been investing in AI for many years. We have a national AI strategy, as some of you know. We refreshed that recently. Many companies have their centers of excellence here. But again, I think we can do more. End-to-end, investing in research in AI, building up industry applications, a portfolio of problem statements, interesting things for people to do, strengthening our talent pipeline and bench, and also uplifting our broad base of SMEs to encourage them to adopt and benefit from AI. The last key move, the fourth key move rather, is for us to deepen connectivity with the world. DPM talked about pushing out into new markets to secure new opportunities. And here, I think what we can do is to more aggressively support our companies to go abroad and internationalize. Overseas markets are going to be harder, they are more protected, more countries are doing industrial policies. So it's much harder for our firms to be able to compete. But I think there's scope for us to support them, to take more risks, to invest in bigger projects, so that the benefits that they can bring back to Singapore, which includes profits from overseas operations, creating good jobs, both locally and overseas, because they have overseas operations, as well as having strategic influence in some industries that matter to us. I think if we can achieve that, having Singapore companies succeed on the world stage, it will be a win for Singaporeans as well as for Singapore. So let me just summarize what I've just said. I think for growth, the ESR is recommending 4 key moves. First, double down on our strengths in growth sectors. Second, to push out our growth frontier. Third, to build up our AI capability. And then fourth, to deepen our connectivity with the world. If we are able to achieve this, when we are able to achieve this, Singapore will be in a better position for us to compete in a changed world. This is a whole of government, or rather whole of society effort that we are working very closely with stakeholders, from business leaders to workers, and we need to do that in order for us to achieve our outcomes. With that, I'm going to pass over to David to talk about our job strategy. Thank you.
So, good jobs are central to Singapore's growth agenda. So as DPM highlighted, the twin challenge, harder economic growth, but it may not necessarily translate into good jobs. And therefore, we have to put in the effort to really increase the number of good jobs and opportunities for Singaporeans. So the economic transformation will lead to new roles, it will reshape existing ones. We can expect 2 things. Number one, the pace of change will be faster because of new technologies. AI is going to disrupt all sectors, and it's going to be a lot more pervasive, right? I don't think any sector can claim that AI is not going to change their way of working. So therefore, we need to support our people and our businesses in all sectors to help them navigate these changes. And we need to do this so that our growth is inclusive and then progress is shared by all. So ESR committees, they are working very closely with the business leaders, unions, as well as our people to find out how can we do this better, and then how can we work together to help everybody move in one step towards the new economy that we will have. So from that perspective, we are really recommending 3 key moves to really grow good jobs and to support our workers and businesses in their transformation. Now, the first move is that we really need to broaden the range of good jobs available to Singaporeans, and it should reflect their aspirations as well as their talents and skills. And second is that with the new opportunities that will arise, we want to help Singaporeans gain new skills to be able to seize those opportunities and jobs that will come. And then the third is that with the disruption and the changes, we also want to be able to help support businesses reinvent themselves, new business models, new way of doing things, to be a lot more productive. Now, the first move on job creation, we should really broaden the range of good jobs in our economy. Like I said, jobs that reflects the aspirations of Singaporeans and makes the best use of their skills. And when, some of these will come from the growth strategies that Jeff talks about. With AI, there'll be new roles. There'll be both technical ones in terms of research and engineering, research and development engineering, as well as non-technical ones, trust, safety, project management. And then with the effort to support the entrepreneurs, we'll also have a new generation of founders will create new roles and new jobs for Singaporeans. But growth cannot be just in these few sectors, okay, or for a narrow band of jobs. So we really need to put in the effort to make sure that there is a more diverse, okay, and a larger set of jobs that are also being transformed, also being created. And these are jobs where, many of these are in essential services that every Singaporean household relies on, okay, as well as our businesses. And these are jobs from skilled trades to care services. And these are demanding jobs that require a lot of dedication, a lot of skill craft, a lot of mastery to do. And we think that's a lot of potential to help create better success pathways, better ways for Singaporeans to acquire skills and build stronger pathways to success. So we can do more to transform and uplift these jobs. And for example, we can do more with NTUC, okay, with our trades associations. We can professionalize skilled trades. And then we can offer clearer career and skills progression ladders, including improving the recognition for these jobs that a lot of Singaporeans take part in. The next one is that beyond creating good jobs, what's equally important is to help Singaporeans upskill so that they can take good advantage of these opportunities. And we've done lifelong learning for quite a while now, almost a decade, Skills Future and all that. So we need to double down on that effort and strengthen that effort. And beyond that, we also need to have a national AI workforce strategy, right? So we talked about how we want Singapore to be a leading AI country, but we also need to have a national AI workforce strategy. And AI's impact will be pervasive. So we need to help every Singaporean become comfortable and confident with AI so that they can use it, okay, to increase their productivity. Well, for students, we recommend refreshing the core curricula of what we're learning in schools so that students can learn about AI, learn with AI, learn to use AI, and more importantly, learn beyond AI. And for our workers, we want to support them to be able to use AI, okay, and experiment it in meaningful ways like the workplace so they can be a lot more productive. And for our businesses, it's about supporting them to look at how they can use AI to transform their business processes and achieve much better business outcomes. And earlier I said that we expect changes, okay, the pace of change to be faster, but faster paced changes also means that skills will get obsolete quicker. And this is where we need to double down on our Skills Future efforts. And the need to also shift a little bit more decisively to intersperse and to weave work and learn together. So for our students, it's really about gaining work experience while they're still studying. For fresh graduates and mid-career workers, it's about being able to continue to gain new skills, to continue their academic upgrading journey while they're still working. We need to bring the two much closer together. And we should also strengthen the involvement of employers in this whole effort so that the skills that they learn can be quite quickly and quite directly translated into good business and good productivity outcomes. Well, when technology disrupts industries, our industry partners, okay, and businesses have also provided the feedback that sometimes it's a little bit difficult to navigate some of these transitions. So what we really want to do, I think, is that we should empower every worker to take charge of their careers. So today, Singaporeans can receive good career guidance, training and job placement support from government agencies, NTUC as well as private firms. But we feel there's potential to strengthen this career and skill system to better support all our workers if they should need to take on new roles. So we also studied how other countries do this. So Sweden, for example, has involved job placement agencies, employment agencies at scale, right? And I think they've done this well, and you find that with competition, they achieve better outcomes, and it pushes up the quality of the services provided. And we think there's something maybe Singapore can learn from this. We also recommend the government looking at how we structure and provide this connection of skills training to jobs end-to-end, okay, the entities that are involved, and whether we can put everything a little bit tighter together so that we can better serve Singaporeans when they need to move on to new roles. And last bit is also to strengthen the career transition support for workers should they be displaced. For PMEs, this can take the form of working with trade association and chambers to aggregate jobs and to help find matches and placements. For other workers, also can take the form of some form of career bridges okay, to provide some support as we help them move into new roles. The last key move is also that within this whole team of transitions, it's really about supporting our businesses to reinvent themselves. So through our engagement with the businesses, actually they themselves tell us that they can see some of these changes happening. Supply chain changes, technology, they can see that they need to restructure, they need to change their business model, and need to move to new business models. But they're telling us that they might need some help to do so, and whether is it in the area of whether they can grow and transform their operations through mergers and acquisitions, or through a little bit of offshoring, putting the higher value add things in Singapore and then shifting other things to other places, which makes more economic sense. I think they are asking whether some help in terms of advisory services to help them make these shifts, whether that can be looked at. And I think for a start, we could review the set of tools and different resources that are available to all our business leaders. And we're also not starting from a clean slate. Enterprise SG has a lot of ongoing engagements with local firms. And this is where they can really deepen their understanding, help us deepen the understanding of some of these challenges that are faced by the businesses undergoing restructuring, and look at how can we help them make some of these moves a little bit better. And I think all these it's still a work in progress. This will continue to inform the recommendations that the committees will make to the government to really help our businesses transform well. So in short, the three things, okay, one is really about creating a diverse range of jobs that reflect Singapore's aspirations, as well as takes good use of their skills, and then really looking at giving Singaporeans new skills, right? So that they can seize the opportunities that will come about with this economic restructuring and new roles. And then the last bit, okay, really supporting our businesses to be able to navigate this transition well, helping them with the advisory services so they can come up with new models, new ways of doing things that will be way more productive and can help take advantage of the growth that will come.
Thank you. Maybe now we can open for questions from the floor.
Yes, hello. Yeah, Nadira from CNA. So I have a question on jobs. I think you mentioned that as the economy grows, as businesses grow, it doesn't necessarily translate into jobs. And then firms are now focusing on higher value added roles, and that's why we might not need that many workers. But then you also emphasized on good jobs. Maybe you can just share your definition of good jobs and some examples of these good jobs that we can expect down the road. And also just on recommendation 6, just maybe if you can just share or elaborate what this reorganization of government means when it comes to lifelong learning, that'll be great.
Well, I think first part in terms of good jobs, I think what the community feels is that yes, there will be new roles that comes about with technology, AI, but that alone by itself will not be enough. There's a whole other range of jobs, a lot of jobs that Singaporeans are engaged in today. And we can stare a lot at jobs that roles that Singaporean household needs, okay, demand for services that Singaporean household needs, businesses needs. And when you look at that, it could be jobs in tradecraft, like in the electrician kind of a trade, right? But we are talking about not just the way we understand electricians today, but with the whole electrification of the grid, EVs, I think that opens up a whole new possibility in terms of what kind of new jobs in the electrification sector that will come about. And when it comes to that, we feel there's a role to look at how you can structure pathways, structure skills, work with IHLs to provide some of those new skills, new certification, upgrading pathways for Singaporeans to be able to do that so that they can gradually uplift themselves, and then that whole idea of what is an electrician actually changes quite significantly. There are also new possibilities in areas such as care services. With an aging society, more care services will be needed. But the way I think we feel there's room to look at the way some of these services are delivered, right? how technology, how AI can actually augment the healthcare worker and make them a lot more effective, a lot more productive, and a lot more achieve much better healthcare outcomes. So for the reorganization, the recommendations is that there is SkillsFuture, there's Workforce Singapore, and they've all got very important roles. But I think what the committee is recommending is to see whether there's room for these things to be a little bit more integrated, okay, to be a little bit better organized, so that Singaporeans find it and businesses find it a little bit easier to navigate the whole ecosystem.
Hi, this is Kayang from Siow. I tend to look at this whole issue as three sets of problems. One is to attract MNCs and potential MNCs to actually want to come to Singapore. And then the part two is actually to encourage our SMEs to actually venture out, notwithstanding that there could be some inertia in some of the companies who are contented to doing what they are doing now. And the third part, which I think probably is not very much addressed today, is how do we ensure that people who venture out are willing to return or stay back in Singapore so that they are rooted. So for these three parts, so what is the thinking and recommendations to attract people who want to come in, and to convince SMEs that they need to go out, and to help Singaporeans stay rooted? I hear the thoughts, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Maybe Jeffrey can elaborate that.
It's a very interesting characterization. I didn't quite characterize it that way. I think it is, the way I would see it is that we want to really build on what we are already good at, what we already have. We have a base of capabilities and strengths and companies that are already here. We want to also push our growth boundaries to bring in companies that are fast growing, talents that are from overseas, and startups that are potentially beginning. We have the ecosystem to do that. So I think together, if we are able to achieve those two strategies, you will have maybe more Singaporeans, but actually on the whole, more talent coming into Singapore, more founders, more companies wanting to base themselves here. We have, relative to the rest of the world, a strong system where we have the characteristics of the rule of law. We have free flow of capital and talent. We have dense networks with the rest of the world. These are things that I think companies and talent are looking for, to want to base themselves and to grow. And if we can continue to build on that, maybe market some of that, we have a chance to be able to get our disproportionate share of growth in the world. I think that's what we are trying to do.
Maybe I can just add on. I think the fact that we need to continue to attract MNCs is quite clear. They bring technology, they bring business, they bring market, they bring network, and they create jobs in Singapore. We have seen that happening. And the example we gave on Micron is a good example how they create jobs for us. At the same time, we're also focusing on the emerging companies that also can understand, because we hope that they come here, they grow into MNCs, and we ride the growth together with them. And this way, we anchor them in Singapore. And your second question about local companies, SMEs, actually our local company focus is not just SMEs, but a whole range of local companies that are big and small. And we do want to encourage them to go overseas if possible. And not all companies are able to go overseas, as you mentioned. We accept that. But those we can, who are willing, we are happy to support them and to launch them. As Jeffrey said, we want to become a launch pad, not just a landing pad. I think I gave an example during the Micron groundbreaking that Micron is thinking about setting up manufacturing facilities in India, and he's persuading one of the local companies to join him to set up in India. So this is how we also want to encourage local companies, even as partners with the MNCs as they expand globally, to become their partners in expansion. So this is how we encourage them to do so. I accept that it's not easy. It's an uphill task, because it's always better to be operate within your comfort zone that you're familiar with. Going out of Singapore is always, there's always uncertainty, there's always a challenge. And that's why the government is prepared to find ways to help you and support you. And how to anchor them in Singapore to ensure that they continue to be anchored in Singapore. I think what is most important is what we've been talking about, keeping Singapore competitive, relevant, and resilient. And this way, when even after they've gone up, they look around, Singapore is still the best place to base their operations in. And that is the same reason why we are able to attract MNCs to come here, to continue to invest in Singapore. So I think that the same factors will play out in keeping Singapore companies who have gone overseas to continue to be anchored here. Singaporeans are the same. We encourage Singaporeans, individuals, to go overseas, to have overseas exposure. This will allow them to have a broader perspective of what the whole world is about. But we want to anchor them back in Singapore. One day they will come back, they contribute back to Singapore. The only way for us to do so is to continue to have opportunities for them in Singapore. And this way, at the end of the day, they'll see that they will continue to be back here. Even if they don't physically come back, they will know that their homes are in Singapore. They may be working for Singapore companies that are stationed overseas, and that's fine too. But their heart will always be rooted to Singapore. That's what Singaporeans is about now.
Yeah, Xuan from China 8. I have three questions, basically on SMEs and also labor force. First question to Min Jeff. So I think the government has done a lot on these AI engineering capabilities, but for many SMEs, right, I think the challenge really lies on the basic AI literacy. How do we really help these SMEs not only be change ready, they are really AI ready to adopt AI to increase their productivity. That's on the SME. For Min David, I have this question on labor force. So I think there's this emphasis on good job strategy. While we want more Singaporean to be AI literate, but I think there's also a growing sense of how blue collar or skill-based jobs will add more value in this AI-driven era. I think this is also echoed by NVIDIA CEO recently. So how do we strike this balance where we help them in this kind of industry, but in this AI-driven era? DPM, I think 我有一个中文的问题，刚才我觉得你有提到一个非常重要的概念，就是随着新加坡成为一个越来越成熟的经济体，在往后呢，我们尽管是经济增长非常好的话，也无法理所当然的认为会有就业市场也会跟着好。那在未来呢，因为这个经济发展很长都是一个就业市场的一个指标，那在未来身为一个员工也好，职员也好，当我们看到经济发展很好的时候，但是我们也不能就理所当然的认为就业市场很好，所以大家是否会有这种担忧？那政府会如何帮助大家去减少这方面的担忧？就是基本上就是一个工作被 AI 取代，尽管经济发展非常好，但是其实需要的人力是在减少的。谢谢。
好的。
I'll take the first question first on AI. So the range of SMEs that we have in Singapore is very broad, and their needs are also very different. But I think all of them will recognize by now that AI is going to fundamentally transform our economy the way digitalization and the internet did for maybe our generation, And what we want to do is to be able to help them at different levels. There will be those that have basic needs on AI. Really, it's just adopting, readily available software packages or AI tools that we have schemes to be able to do quite quickly, and you can curate the tools quite easily and then introduce it at the sectoral level or at the industry-wide for companies, small companies to adopt quickly. And then there is a more sophisticated sort of adoption where you need to really transform your business processes to take the full benefits of AI. And there we do want to work with companies, both individually as well as at the sectoral level, to work out what are these solutions that, if successful, can become pathfinders for the rest of the industry. And so we have plans to do that, and ESG will in time be able to talk a bit about that. And then finally, the third piece is about workforce transformation, which David talked about. We do want to support companies to have the workers that are able to use AI well. And there we are tackling it on two fronts. One is helping the company to retrain their workers. The other is on the supply side, really getting the whole population to be comfortable with AI to understand that this is important for them to retrain and then give them the support, potentially through Skills Future and other means, but to give them the support to retrain themselves. So I think if we can do that across the board, SMEs will be in a better position to use AI and to continue to grow and compete. I think there are two other questions.
Yeah, so I think when it comes to the blue-collar jobs that you mentioned about, I think it was Jensen Huang, right, who said that AI can't turn a screwdriver, AI can't fix a broken pipe and all that. So I think it's quite right. Like we were saying, there are a lot of jobs that Singaporeans are engaged in today, that Singaporean households depend on, that businesses depend on, that will not be replaced by AI. And the question really is that how do we use AI to augment our workers so that they are a lot more productive and a lot more better at achieving outcomes than before. And I think you can see that in a range of different ways in which some of the companies have really used either data analytics or AI to make their workers more efficient. So for example, I think in ST Engineering, when they build new platforms, new tanks, new heavy vehicles, they equip their workers with data analytics on how to actually construct the thing better based on previous examples, which are the parts they need to pay attention to, which are what's the level of torque they need to apply. So in doing all this, actually they make the worker a way more effective, okay, at what he's doing as compared to before where they are just fixing stuff and not really totally clear about what's happening. So that's one big example. I think another example is perhaps in areas like healthcare. Okay, if you go to, I think, our wards today, you can see how, I was just at Ward 63 of SGH 2 days ago, and you can see how their nurses are also using technology, AI, to help them take care of patients. So for example, previously, the ward nurse will have to go around patrolling to make sure that all the patients are comfortable, well settled and all that. But today, they can use a camera as well as a monitor to help them keep better track of patients. And then this is also where the data as well as the AI can help them pick up movements and see whether is the patient in distress, not in distress. But that way, one ward nurse now can do way more than before. So these are, I think, some of the examples. And I think as we go on this journey together with our businesses and we support them, I think the businesses will be able to find different ways in which they can use AI technology to help strengthen their business processes and help their workers be a lot more effective. And then that will focus the workers on doing those things that humans are best at doing, and then allow the AI to augment them so that together as a package, we are a lot more effective.
让我 Chinese or English？ OK， 让我试试看啊。对于现在的环境，国际环境来说是非常的严峻，有很大的挑战。我们要推动经济的增长，需要再加上我们的经济已经是相对的成熟的经济，那么要取得高增长是非常困难的。那么我们希望能够维持在2%到3%之间的长期的增长率，那就已经是非常不错的。那么我们希望通过我们大家总体的努力呢，能够把我们的经济增长推向这2到3%之间的顶端。如果能够靠近3%，或者能够超出3%，那会更加好。这样的话，我们就能够继续不断的使到经济能够增长，能够新的投资，能够新的工作岗位能够能够创造新的工作岗位、新的机会给我们的员工。那么，我想，在这个环境之下呢，刚才我提出来的就是工作岗位的创造，也会放缓下来，因为接着提升我们的经济，我们就可能不需要这么多的员工来达到同样的一个果效。那么要怎么解决这个问题呢？那么就是我们需要快马加鞭，让我们的经济增长尽量能够赶上。这样的话，我们还能够维持我们的工作岗位不断的增加。虽然脚步可能放缓，但是我们还是希望能够不断的增加新的岗位。这其中还有一个挑战，就是虽然我们能够制造新的工作岗位，这新的工作岗位的要求和过去的工作的要求不一样的，因为这个是比较高质量的工作那么他们所要求的技术跟能力也比较高，所以其中我们唯一能够解决的就是不断的提升我们的员工。那么我对新加坡的员工是 信心满满，因为在过去我们都看到，无论怎么样的经济挑战，或者是传染病等等的挑战，我们新加坡人都能够站立得起来，因为我们的应变能力是非常坚韧的。所以我相信，如果我们能够一起努力提升我们的员工，这个问题是能够得到解决。那么刚才我提到我到几天前我到一间公司 Micron 为他们做动土仪式的时候，我参观了他们的工厂。可能媒体不能参观，因为这个是保密的，所以我去参观了他们的工厂。其实他们的工厂里面呢很少员工，我就说你的员工都跑去哪里了？他说我们有很多员工，但是这些员工都是在中央控制室在控制着这些机器人在操作，所以很多的生产线都是用机器人在操作，但是机器人的背后还是需要控制这些机器人的高质量的员工，所以我们就想怎么样培育新加坡的员工能够成为这些 AI 或者是自动化机器人的操作员。那么我们也可能培育出一些新加坡员工能够制造机器人或者设计机器人，这样的话他们的工作质量就会再进一步的提升，这样的话他们的收入也会更好。所以我们这个是一个转动的轮子，我们必须一直不断的向前走，一直不断的提升，不断的适应，不断的发展，在不断的提升，这是一个一直循回不断的一个轮子，所以我们必须继续的努力。不过我对新加坡的员工是信心满满的。快马加鞭。
For the year.
今年年。
Hi, Tessa from the Business Times. So I have a question about recommendation 7. In the evaluation of the business's health, I think, is it fair to say that this means that some of the businesses may be assessed to be unsustainable or unviable as their business models are no longer relevant today? Is that fair to say? And what transition plans would be available for such businesses that are not viable or not sustainable? Thank you.
Maybe, okay, let me just explain that. I think, I used to be in the private sector. We always talk about sunset industries, and many of the sunset industries are still here today. The sun never sets. So I've learned that actually there are no sunset industries because there are no sunset businesses. You just need to continue to transform, keep up with the change in the operating environment. The environment has changed, as we talked about extensively just now, that the world has changed, the external environment has changed, the internal challenges are there. How can we transform our businesses so that we can respond to the new reality? And businesses can continue to survive, but they need to continue to transform. Some may go through merger and acquisition. Some may need to move to new business line. Some may need to break up new businesses, new markets, and bring into new markets. Some may need to think about how can I adopt a technology so that I become more competitive than my next competitor. So this way you can survive. And then your competitor may not be able to survive. So I think everyone has a chance to survive. The key is how can you transform yourself. I want to give an example which I gave before, and this is the timber industry. The timber industry have decided that they will come together to all move into a team mart. I think it's in Kranji. This way, even without merger and acquisition, by coming together, they have scale. Many of the services can be shared. And some of the businesses are supplier to another business altogether, so it's very efficient. This way, they become more competitive, cost competitive. But at the same time, they also move up the product ladder to become more higher value-added products, no longer just the run-of-the-mill timber, but they are going into furniture, they go into high specification, specialized timber. So this way, they become more higher value add. They move with the challenges that they see. And if you are able to continue to do this, refresh yourself, reorganize yourself, remodel yourself, I think you will always be able to stay relevant, competitive and resilient. And this way, I think no businesses need to be phased out. But it's important to be very conscious that you need to transform. And if you stay where you are, if you are doing exactly the same thing 20 years ago, you're still doing the same thing today, you are vulnerable. So you need to think, how can I operate differently today than yesterday? And this way, if you keep constantly think that way, I think you will be able to keep catching up, and then you will be always one step ahead of competitor, or at least half a step ahead of your competitor. And this is how you survive as a business.
Hi, sorry, Gawin from Mothership. So I want to go back to like the idea of good jobs. And I think one of the points noted in the ESI is that economic growth might not lead to the same level of job growth. But then on Monday at Singapore Perspectives, we talked a lot about low TFR, immigration, integration, and how those factor into economic growth also. So I just want to sort of ask the committee whether are there concerns that all this will lead to more frustrations among like the resident workforce, and maybe what sort of assurances the committee might be able to offer to them. Thank you.
Well, I'm not sure it will lead to more frustrations. Well, the natural thing with any disruption is that we will all look at the backside first. I mean, even within the conversations within the committee, when we talk about AI technology disruptions, what it means to the workers, the natural first step was everybody was a little bit pessimistic, maybe a little bit protective. But I think as the conversations go along, a lot of the both private sector as well as our union members felt that actually, if you honestly think about it, we're a small country. People is our most valuable resource. We can never have enough workers. The appearance of a technology that can actually increase multiple folds the productivity of each person should be great news to us. That means that every Singaporean now can do way more. And then perhaps our limitations around manpower and all that can all be overcome. And I think once that hit everybody, then we started looking at possibilities. And the committee came up with quite a number of them. And I think that's how we should sort of approach it and look at it, that with every challenge is always an opportunity. And when it comes to the challenge of technology's disruption, you know, we've always, like DPM was saying, we've always managed to, as a country, write all the different disruptions through history quite well. Okay? All that matters is, are we able to see it as an opportunity? Are we able to use it to reinvent ourselves? Are we able to put it to use in practical ways so that we achieve better outcomes? And I think as a country, we've been quite good at doing that. And I think that's also where a lot of the focus on the committee is, that we try to use this to make every Singaporean worker way more productive than before.
I think, let me just add on to that. I think we acknowledge that there will always be anxiety among our workers with change. I think this is the same experience we went through when we talk about automation quite a few decades ago. Productivity growth, we have a productivity board, and people are worried that with more productivity, I need fewer workers. The same phenomenon, and therefore we'll all lose jobs. But today, productivity is no longer a concern. In fact, we are driving productivity. Everybody agrees we have to drive productivity because that's how we stay ahead of competition. I think AI or new technology is going to be the same. The key is, can we transform fast enough? Can we transform faster than our competitor as a country, as a workforce? And this anxiety will always be there. So I think the key promise that we can give is, or assurance that we can give, is that we will be with you every step of the way. We must do this as a whole of society, and not just you take care of yourself and you do what you can do, I do what I can do. I think that will be counterproductive. Therefore, it is important for us to always remember that we are moving forward as a we first society. Let's come together, work together, help one another, support one another, and the government will be there with you every step of the way.
I think ST has a question. ST.
West from the Straits Times. My first question is a bit fundamental, basically. Just in the spirit of understanding of readers understand how these recommendations are different from the recommendations. Is more granular, more fundamental. In what sense this would be different? First, and the other question is that that's to Mr. Jeffrey. It's about if you can give more examples of these relatively less known sectors in which you think Singaporean companies can become global champions or even local champions. So first of all, either way, why these recommendations are different?
Yeah. So maybe I make an attempt, and then Jeffrey can add on. The starting point is that this is crisis. I won't say crisis may be a wrong word, but this is a change that is unlike previous changes. Maybe crisis is the right word. We have many economic crises, financial crises, and so on. But when you look back, these are quite well-defined crises, whether it's financial, Asian financial crisis or global financial crisis. These are quite well-defined, the cause of it, and you see a way out. You see a way to revert back to where we were and then continue the growth path. But today's crisis that we are facing is very different. It is going to be a different world that we are going to emerge from. We are never going to go back to where we were. Global competition, great power contestation, and might is right. That kind of approach is very different from where we were before. Rules-based system is now under threat. So these are new territory that we are entering into. So therefore, the environment is different. Plus, climate change. 20 years ago, we never talked about climate change, but now it is a reality. You can't just wish it away, right? Technology change and so on, we have seen that before. And the aging population is not it's an aged problem, issue that we have lived with it for many years, and now it's becoming more acute than before. So I think these are the environment that we're operating in. And therefore, some of the recommendations and measures that we need to think about has to be quite different from what we were doing before. Let me give an example in training and upgrading. We have introduced many training programs every year, every few years. Every crisis we have new training programs to help to uplift our workers. But what I think David was mentioning just now is that what is different this time is that we do want to make sure that training and upgrading becomes part of life. It's not just go for training when there's a crisis. When you're out of job, go for internship training just while you're looking for a job. In fact, we want our workers to embrace training as part of the way of life. When you're working, you think about how can I upgrade myself. Even if I have a good job, I still think about what are the new skills I need to acquire so that I'm ready for the future. This is something that's quite different, and in order to do that, we need to think about how can we better organize ourselves, how can we have a more effective, more targeted programs, how can we encourage workers to take ownership of this training rather than the training programs are there, sign up if you want, if you don't sign up, it's fine too. So we need to have that mentality shift. So it's a bit fundamental. So it's not just about more schemes and more programs, but how can we have that mindset shift? Today, if you go to work, I'm sure all of you think about productivity, right? It's almost instinctive. You go there and you go to a company or go to your workplace, you say, oh, this is very inefficient. Why do I have to do 3 steps in order to do this? I can do it in 1 step. You do that straight away. You don't have to say, go for a productivity course, come back and try to simplify your work process. It's in you to want to be productive. But we also want to make that mentality to apply to training. So that as you work, you think, hey, this one, I'm not doing it so well. I want to train myself. I come across AI, generative AI, say, I'm not so familiar how to ask questions. I want to learn. How do I master the AI capability? So this is something that we need to find a way to internalize. So it's slightly different. It's very subtle. It's not just about more programs and so on, but a shift. Investment promotion is another shift. As I mentioned, we have hitherto focused a lot on MNCs, key leaders. We want to anchor them, which is not wrong, right? Because we want Singapore to be headquarters for all these major MNCs, or at least a major production base for them. So this is important. We'll continue to do so. But we now need to turn our attention also to those that are emerging. In the past, we may say that, well, we'll wait for you to become big because I don't know whether you will succeed or not. So we will need to, as Jeffrey said, we need to take a bit of risk. Some of them will not turn out to be all right because these are emerging. You never know whether they will arrive. But you need to take a bit of risk, invite them to be here, grow with them. Some will not succeed, so be it. But some will grow into MNCs. Then they will grow from Singapore, and we enjoy their growth together as partners of this growth company. So this is quite a fundamental shift. And AI is another one. And as I think Jeffrey mentioned, we are not just trying to encourage you to buy an AI package from the store and then install and then play with it. But we really want to encourage our businesses to use AI to transform the business, do things that you could not do before. But the idea is that they have leveraged AI to transform. When you go to the factory, actually never thought that this is AI, you just see things moving around. But there's a huge AI system at the back to run all these systems. But they have transformed. So this is something that we hope our businesses, our economy will embrace AI so that we are not just a user of AI, we are in fact become part of the developer of AI solutions. And aside for these solutions to be tested, to be piloted, to be deployed, and eventually to scale. Some of the solutions that are developed here may then be applied in all over the world. Right? Like some of the MNCs who develop solutions here are actually applying the same solution in other parts of the world where they have operations. So we hope to be able to do that, and that will give us that edge over our competitors. That is slightly different from what we have been doing, which has been important, incremental, dealing with the immediate crisis. And once the crisis is over, I think we move on. But this, I don't think, that's why I say crisis may not be the right word, because there's a sense that the crisis will be over. This is not going to be over. This is just a change, a shift, and we are now in a new world.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Ministers?
Yes,
Yeah, we have one last question from reporter
Maybe
from
let me
B.
just answer
Oh,
the question. Yeah.
Sorry, I took too long.
No, it's okay, no problem. Yeah, so let me just take the first question on fundamentally what has changed. The ESR is a comprehensive relook at our portfolio economic strategies. And we need to do that because the world has changed. The conditions for our economic success over the past many 30 years have fundamentally changed, and we're not going back to that world. And so therefore, we have to look at what has been successful for us in the past and see whether or not they continue to be useful for us. And we believe that actually some of these things that we have done before continue to stand us in good stead, and in fact, are strengths for us. And we can build on them and continue to strengthen these and make sure that we grow in those aspects, be it our characteristics or our growth sectors. And then there are things that we need to do to change, to move faster, to revisit. And in that respect, I think we are also doing that. I think if you look at SMEs broadly, the things we would like to emphasize are, number one, they need to internationalize, and the government will help them to support them to compete in more difficult markets. And then number two, they really need to aggressively adopt and benefit from AI. These are sort of two examples of significant changes that we expect to do, and we have to help our companies to do that. And as DPM explained also for the workforce. I also shared earlier about how we are going to aggressively pursue new technologies. So I mentioned a few: quantum computing, I mentioned decarbonization technologies, I mentioned, I think, space. These are actually adjacent to some of our growth sectors. Quantum computing, for instance, is related to some of the technological advancements in the photonics and silicon manufacturing sector in semiconductors. Decarbonization technology, as you know, we've been working on how to make our economy more sustainable, and a lot of companies, green technology companies are here in Singapore. So they are not sort of out of the blue, but in fact, they're adjacent to our growth sectors. And these are, I think, new sectors where we may not have the right to win yet, but actually we need to win the right to play in the sector. And so that is what we are doing. As for some examples, I can mention a few, and then later on we can give you a bit more information. I make a plug for F-Point, which is a data governance and data management company. Making a plug because the founder is my fellow Cornell alumnus. Just met him a couple of weeks ago. But he's grown his data outfit here. He's now has built from a 4-man outfit to now a 150-man outfit, specializing in AI, helping companies rework the backbone of their data management so that they can then use AI more effectively. Another couple of companies, this one, well, maybe larger companies, Thales, has been here for some time. They are our partners in defense and aerospace, but they've built up a new cybersecurity arm. And they're doing, in fact, they're putting their AI incubator here and bringing in many AI talent and expertise here in Singapore. I met the Singapore CEO, Emily, last week during the AI Research Week that MDDI organized. And there was a gathering of many AI research experts and professors and people on the front line are doing AI research together with industry. And that generated a lot of collaboration opportunities and talk. And Emily told me that, well, they are very inspired. They're going to continue to grow their AI capabilities here. A third area is in healthcare. Healthcare obviously is an existential problem for us because of our demographics. And here, Microsoft Research Lab is working very closely with, I believe, one our healthcare institutions to develop solutions related to precision medicine. Basically, looking at customized data, maybe customized even to the individual, how you can then develop customized therapeutics or healthcare solutions, basically to problems. And I think that's a lot of value there, especially now with AI. It has jump-started, I think, how precision medicine can really be applied. And we should see really quite interesting things in the bioscience and pharmaceutical and therapeutic space in the next few years.
Okay, I think we've come. I'm so sorry.
Kind of. Can take one more. Maybe.
One last one.
One last one.
Maybe one last one, then probably from BH, because I think she hasn't had the chance to ask.
Both. Yeah.
Okay, we take two. Short one.
Okay.
Okay, hi, I'm Irma from Berita Harian. Okay, I know it's one question, but I just two quick questions. So, yeah. So, you spoke about getting Singaporean workers comfortable in embracing AI and such, but there will always be a certain segment of workers who will be left behind. So, what is the reality for workers who are unable to pivot in this AI journey? And my second question is about helping our local companies go global. Could you give us a sense of the kind of support that businesses can expect for them to go regional and international?
You want to take the first one?
Yeah, I think for the first one, I think it's really a case whereby we feel that the community feels that going ahead, AI is the disruption will be pervasive. So it really must be something that we help every Singaporean worker do well in. And, there'll be many different ways to do so. But it really comes down to, one is about this mentality shift. Okay, like we were saying earlier, it must be that I always want to do better in my role. And if it involves learning new skills regarding to AI, then I will want to go for those courses to upgrade myself so I can acquire this new skill and be able to perform better at work. And then part of it is also about having a little bit more of an entrepreneurial mindset. It doesn't really matter which sector you're in, but this desire to always see what else is new, how else can I do my work differently, and how else can I become better. But really, no worker should be left behind. And we believe that every worker can acquire a mindset and use AI to make themselves better.
I have a short answer for you, which is wait for the budget. But basically, I mean, what we want to do is help our companies deepen their existing overseas operations and also to venture into new markets. And we already have schemes for some of these, but we were looking to enhance those schemes, and we took in feedback from companies with overseas operations on what they would like, and we will work with them to develop something that is of use to them.
The very last question.
Yes, thank you. I have some follow-up questions. So I think the recommendations, it seems to be focused more on mid to long-term support, right, for firms, workers. But then, short-term issues or concerns still persist. So like high cost pressures, tariffs. So how are we addressing these short-term challenges? And also, I think my second question is that, analysts also have pointed out that, like Trump is using tariffs as a political leverage, perhaps for countries to join the Board of Peace. So I'm just wondering, what's your assessment on this tariff threat that we could face if we delay or even, reject joining this Board of Peace, and maybe some updates as well on the pharma tariffs? Thank you.
3 questions. Yeah. Okay, the short answer is that let's focus on the economic strategy review. I think many of these questions there will be another opportunity to address. But with regard to the short-term challenges of that businesses face, I think we will continue to work with them because the committee, again, if you focus on committee, is focused on the medium and long term. So that's their job, and this is what the interview today is about. For the short-term challenges, we have schemes available. ESG and our economic agencies are reaching out to them with our tripartite partners, with our TACs, our trade association and chambers, are also working with them to see what are the help that they would need. And some of them have targeted, some are broad-based. So I think we have a lot of schemes that will be able to address these issues. So I think it's a separate topic from today's economic strategy review. So focus on the review. On the US tariff, we continue to discuss and negotiate, but at the same time, we are also reaching out to engage the pharma companies and semiconductor companies who are here to understand their challenges and to work together to see how we can make sure that they remain competitive. They have ways to manage the impact of the tariff, and many of these are highly confidential, sensitive commercially. So some of them, I will not be able to share what the companies are doing, and rest assured that we are working very closely with them. At the same time, we continue to discuss with the US, and when there's something that update I can report, I will surely inform all of you in good time.
And with that, we end today's media interview. Thank you. Thank you, DPM and acting ministers. But before that, I think the photogs want to just take a quick photo of the three of you.